because the mental illness is induced by the environment that these people are being raised or reared in. And so in order to talk about it, we have to bring up broader topics, and the topic we're going to bring up today is epigenetics and transgenerational epigenetics. That sounds like a big word. It sounds real sexy, and a lot of buzz in social media today about epigenetics and transgenerational epigenetics. Some of it is true and accurate. Some of it is not. Some people are using the word, and maybe they should do a little more studying before they do. So today, we want to take a moment to do some really basic discussions regarding the DNA, regarding genes, genetic machinery as such. And I'm sure that I'm not going to talk over any of the lay people's heads in this issue. One of the first things we learn in our basic sciences and genetics classes in biology is that the sperm and the egg meet, and they unite to form a primordial cell. One strand of DNA from each parent is donated to this primordial cell, and it makes DNA, which is the precursor for every cell in the body. Now, what we get out of this primordial cell is hair, skin, bone, but we also get nervous tissue. We get cardiovascular tissue like heart. We get kidney. We also get breast tissue. We get thyroid tissue. We get prostate. Okay? So basically, what we're looking at is specialized tissues versus unspecialized tissues. The reason I want to say this is because the new science out called epigenetics teaches us that what we originally thought is once this DNA fusion has occurred and this differentiation into basic cells has occurred, that this process was fixed, and that the function and expression of the DNA of these cells was stayed and was unchangeable, immutable. That's not true. What occurs when we go from this primordial cell to all of this differentiation into a normal human being? We found that there's a process to the gene, or a part of the gene called the epigene. The epigene is it's genetic material that's attached to the gene, and this genetic material has the ability, under certain environmental conditions, to change the cellular expression of the cells that are affected. What does that mean? That a brain tissue or nervous system or neural tissue is no longer fixed and stagnant, but can be changed by environment. Heart, kidney, breast, thyroid, prostate, and other glandular tissues, organ tissues, are changeable under these environmental conditions. Liken the epigene to the software of a computer. Liken the human body to the hardware. Okay, the software, the computer, which is part of the hard drive, is programmed by the software programmer. The environment is the software programmer. So under a certain environment, the software programmer, which is the environment, can cause the epigene to unwrap and send chemical signals down to the gene and cause the gene to change itself in expression. So what we get is environment, causing changes to the epigene of the cells and leading to pathological conditions inside of the human being. So yesterday we talked about mental illness, and we talked about environmental conditions and the trauma and the violence. But what people need to understand is the environment acting through the epigene, and this is obviously much more complex, and we're going to talk about it in the lectures that we're doing in July. But it's important that people understand that the mental illness, which is usually brought about by changes to the epigene in the brain, leads to the mental illness we're seeing in the community, the formulation of personality disorders. We got schizophrenia, you got all of the different major depression, anxiety disorders, people with chemical dependency problems. All of these are being epigenetically initiated by environment. And so the one thing that African Americans don't have control of is environment. So to wrap this up for today's lecture is simply to say, ancestral trauma and epigenetics in the future is one of the most important pieces that we need to be talking about as a community, because with the presidential election coming, it needs to be on the forefront of what we're putting in front of the candidates regarding what are you going to do to reverse the effects of ancestral trauma epigenetics in the future. Tomorrow we're going to talk about transgenerational epigenetics, and we're going to talk about how environmental influences on the parent lead to epigenetic changes in the child and disease condition potential in the offspring of those so affected. Thank you. My name's Nave.